The direct path, as we call it, the direct path is literally a straight path. There is no twists and turns. There is no doing. It's just realizing that you are. It's about this term that's thrown around on the internet. It's called being. Now, is there anything that one has to do to experience their, if you want to call it a soul for lack of words, or consciousness? I would prefer, from my own experiences, to call it, I've created this word because there is no word, firstly. So I haven't really created this word. I've just taken these two specific words, which are the closest, but they are also not close at all. So in a way, I would be lying to you if I tell you that these words is what I am talking about. But for lack of words to explain, to convey, I came up with words that fitted, which were the closest I could ever grasp. I call it conscious awareness. It's not conscious awareness, or awareness is a little bit better word. So, to experience yourself as that which was or is. So when I say was, you see, right now you have a different sense of identity of who you are or what you are. You are not that. When I say to experience what is you, is a little bit more appropriate, because if you had to strip away everything that is the was, then you're left with the is. Now, the direct path is not a doing. There's no action to take. You can't think your way there. You cannot, there's no guideline. There's no book. There's no teacher that can tell you this is the way. They can point you towards it. And this is what a lot of the spiritual teachers on the internet, they do. They tell you that if you do this and do that, it would happen, or you're more prone towards that happening. It's only when one realizes the futility of action, the absolute pointlessness of searching. It's only when one fully drops the action on all levels, mental, physical, emotional, everything. The whole 5 sheets of consciousness, if you want to call it that. When everything is dropped, that is when the self, or what you are, is experienced. But even if that happens, you must understand that at that level, there's no levels, but just for pointing and using pointers just to give you something to grasp. It's kind of a pointless thing for me even to be talking from this point, but I'll just go ahead anyway. So when the actions on all levels are dropped completely. The experience that you have is still on the physical level, because there is still the physicality that one is experiencing that. What I am talking about, which is beyond that, is when that is, you see, it's not an experience. Beyond that, it's not an experience. You can have an experience in a physical body. There's no experience outside of that which I am talking about. Outside of that, in that, there's no in, but for lack of words, we're just using this as pointers. In that, if you want to call it a void, or you want to call it an experience, it's all wrong, because none of the words can be used to describe anything. You can try, but if you try and you do, then it's false. So it's not something that can be conveyed on the level of when you are in the body speaking. So if even if you ask the question, how can I have that, or how can I experience that? The moment you have that thought, you're already moving towards futility in action. You're already wasting your time. Time doesn't exist, but you get the point. So, one can try, but failure is inevitable. So the direct path if you want to make yourself more prone in order for something like this to, it's not a happening, but in order for something like this to happen to you so that you would know what this is, then you need to stop trying to pursue spirituality on the external level. Because the moment you start pursuing spirituality on the external level, then you are sort of, for lack of words, moving in the wrong direction. There is no such thing as a moving in the wrong direction. When I say moving in the wrong direction, I mean that what you are looking for is here, is you, and you already are it. You don't have it, you are it. So if it's here within you, then there shouldn't be any distance, right? There's no distance. So if there's no distance, there's also no time. because there's no distance and there's no time, in order for you to have that experience, it's instantaneous. But the direct path is really fascinating, because you see, I have been on this journey for over 10 years now. And I've done everything. When I say I've done everything, I've done everything in terms of pursuing a spiritual path. I have tried all different kinds of things. I have listened to all different types of spiritual teachers on the internet. And there were some spiritual teachers that were sort of, I would say, for myself, better in pointing. The one that really made a difference on a very vast scale in terms of experiencing things was J.D. Krishnamurti. And you see, J.D. Krishnamurti, he took a very different approach compared to all the other spiritual seekers and stuff. He had a very different cutting way of getting through to you. He had a way of which he could use his intellect, and let's just say you have a whole bunch of layers like this, and when you listen to J.D. Krishnamurti, he just cuts through it like that. So his teachings, if you want to call it teachings, were very powerful, very powerful in my experience. And there must have been thousands and thousands of people that have had what is known as spiritual experiences just through his teachings and applying his teachings. So he did a very good job in the spiritual talks that he did. And in his last talk, he mentioned where was it? The last video he gave, and then I think he had cancer, and then he died a month after that last talk. And he said this is the last talk he's going to have. And there was something very strange which I received from watching that video, which I'm going to share with you guys. You see, what I've received from just watching that video, you see, his way of living when I watched that video, and I feel it very difficult to speak because it's not something that I can convey. It's something that you need to watch yourself, because there's something very powerful. You see, he's never initiated any person, and done what the tradition of the spiritual teachers do. But what I got from that was he just looked at everything without absolutely no judgment. He just saw everything and everyone for what they are at that moment. There was no past about that person, no future about the persons that he looked at or he interacted with. It was just in the present moment, just experiencing life, if I may say. And in that, and he didn't say this. He didn't say this at all. He didn't convey what I'm telling you, what I picked up in words. He didn't convey this in words. The way how he conveyed this, it was very strange when I first watched it, because it was sort of like a transmission. Very strange. But this was the message that I got. Just simply see everything as it is, without absolutely no judgment. Because the judgment and all of these other things are just part of what is known as duality. This duality which we're experiencing, this is all our own making. So who are we to judge anything or any person or put anything for that matter in a framework? That is from the smallest insignificant thing to the largest magnificent thing in this creation. And that is one of the most powerful teachings I got from him that was not conveyed in words. Maybe there's other videos out there where he actually does sort of indicate this in words, or maybe not, but I have not come across any of that. But what I have come across was, and that was the most powerful thing, which was that last video where he did his last public talk. And this is the reason why I have created this social media platform to post about spirituality and stuff, is because, you see, if it wasn't for these other spiritual teachers that were there to pass wisdom and, impart that value, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be in what I am right now, which I am so grateful for in this life. So, this whole entire platform which I post on is just to say the same thing which all of these other teachers have said, but how I convey it, how I put the words together. I've noticed over the past couple of years, they do make a difference in people's lives. And I have been shown that very vividly. So that is the reason why I decided to continue this, because I was never really interested in doing any type of spiritual teaching or pointing any people in direction. I was just more interested in finding the truth out for myself and going to the Himalayas and just sitting there. That was it. Live a life of a monk and call it a day. Because everything I've looked for, I have found in life. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of effort to get to where I am right now, to realize there was no need. But you have to walk that long journey sometimes for you to see, oh, okay, this is what was always being conveyed.